God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
There's a commercial that used to say, "Don't leave home without it." I think it was MasterCard. And at the end, they would say, you couldn't put a price on it. A price could not be put on what you and your wife did for me this week. And I'm just praying that your ministry will continue to be the blessing to others as it has been to me this week. Just the opening of the eyes, just seeing God's word with a whole different set of lenses, just understanding what is required of us and laying aside the misnomers, the erroneous teachings, the errors, and just accepting who I am in Christ. And no one else could tell me who I am but the Word.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging out with us all week long.
Thank you for being there with us.
All right.
so excited. Good evening. I am so excited to be here this evening.
We are back for another Monday night with KW. I know you guys live.
Yes.
I know you guys are excited to be with us tonight. I am almost 100% certain that one of our viewers tonight is my cousin Stacy. I'm going to tell you why. Earlier today, she said to me, "Girl, I'm so glad that I'm off because now I can know that I'll be there for the show."
So Stacy, make sure if you're there, you're not on some page that's being shared, whether by me or Kamala. Let's try and get everybody to go to the YouTube channel. That way, there she is. There she is. Wherever you are, Stacy, you're perfect. We just saw your comment. So
Yes.
good. All right. So what are you doing here? What's KW?
What's KW?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. So KW, first of all, that stands for Kamala and Winston. And KW Ministries.
But is it just Kamala and Winston?
No, most definitely not. If you want to go with K, we're going to go with Anna K. Who, without Anna K, none of this would be possible.
And so we're really, really grateful to her. It says, you should give people their roses while they're alive.
That's right.
And then our 13-year-old joined the team.
Sure did.
She wrote a book too.
She did. So a little bit about KW and what we're doing and why we're even here. If you're watching us for the very first time, KW Ministries was born out of a place of, challenge, a place of desperation. You'll notice that if you visit our website, you'll see a lot of verbiage about a desperate cry. And one of the things that we figured out in our own relationship is that sometimes you go through some really messed up times. And that's true whether you're talking about a relationship, that's true whether or not you're talking about work, that's true whether or not you're talking about parenting,
type of relationship.
whatever it is. As we're going through life, we experience some challenging times, sometimes when it feels like we're crying out in desperation.
My best friend and I, Carl Brewer, we were talking today, and we were just talking about life. And we spent I don't think we've talked this long in a little while. And we just talked about life and that life can just throw you different curveballs. And
Absolutely.
life is not always the way you plan it. And
Mm-hmm.
life is just, life can be a real big challenge. And so it's our own desperate cry that we say, well, other people must have desperate cries. And so we decided to do these devotionals.
Yes.
Books.
Yes.
And, by the way, we're giving away tonight. We want to give away Kamala's The Journey to Healing, Reaching People with a Desperate Cry. 8 coping skills to heal. 8 coping skills to heal.
And here's why I am really excited about this giveaway tonight. Okay, yes, I did write it, but that's not the only reason I'm excited about it. One of the reasons that I like the way we put together this workbook is for exactly that reason. It is a workbook. It is a guide.
It's a journal.
A lot of times as we go through, it's like a box of chocolates, Stacey. You never know what you're gonna get.
Is that Forrest Gump?
A lot of times when we're going through different situations and circumstances in our life, we encounter things that are kind of challenging to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put together this book of real kind of coping skills. We don't get a guidebook when we're starting in life. And so along the way, sometimes we need some tools to help. And how it's set up is for you to be really self-reflective and to examine different areas of your life. So we talk about journaling, we talk about radical acceptance, we talk about sleep hygiene, we talk about all kinds of different topics in here. And you get a chance to, one, assess where you're at in your own experience, and then ask yourself some challenging questions about, well, where do I want to see myself and how do I get there? This workbook helps to answer those.
You talked about journaling. I sent you a piece I saw on CNN. I don't know if you saw it. I texted to you this morning.
I don't think I saw that one.
Okay, but the guy was talking about he called it mental hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that people brush their teeth every day, most of us twice per day,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can prevent having to do a root canal.
Yeah.
And he was saying that mental hygiene was really, really, really important. So he was saying
Yes.
take 15 minutes out of the day and first thing in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and which we as Christians been saying that for a long. Well, this is
Mhm.
not just Christians,
Yeah.
religious people that meditate, so
Mhm.
forth and so on. But he was saying one of the things he said was to journal along the way,
Yeah.
how it's going, what it's doing
Mhm.
for you. And so that's why I said I thought about this and said, well, let's give away this
Yeah.
tonight. I think it's a great, great, great tool.
For sure. And there are lots of different ways you can journal, and the workbook talks you through different ways to do that. Sometimes when people think of journaling, they go, you mean like writing a diary? Yeah, that could be one way,
Right.
but you can have a thought stream journal, for
Yeah.
example, where you know how we like to edit ourselves.
Mhm.
Okay, let me write this journal entry now. Let me make sure that how I'm writing this is grammatically correct. Let me make sure that if anybody comes across it, they're not gonna no. So thought streaming is really just about, let me put it on paper. Let me not edit. Whatever comes out, that's what I'm putting down. And it's a good way to see where our thought processes are taking us.
The nice thing about these smartphones is, and Annika always gets me for this. I always say, all right, Annika, I have a new project. Let's start. She'd say, why do you have a phone? Why do you have a smartphone? Do you know you can just tap a button and talk to it and it will record you?
Yes.
Do you know you could just do that? You know,
Yeah.
you could, no, grab a pen, grab paper. No, just grab your phone and just tap a button. So that's one way you could journal. You just grab your phone and just, I'm talking to it and keep track. So good to see Sister Sands on.
Hey there.
Good to see you, Cheryl. We're excited. So Monday nights with KW Ministries is an attempt to reach people with a desperate cry through our devotionals, through
our devotional, through our workbooks,
Ariana's,
through our seminars. Absolutely.
And we just go to kwministries.net, www.kwministries.net, and there's a host of things there. Then we also have goody stuff like cups and mugs.
Wait, you know if you pick up the cup and
here goes the blue.
Okay. So I'm like a detail person.
I can't help it.
I talk about the same thing every single time. You've watched us a number of times and you've seen me do this more than once, but I can't get over it. I just like little details. Do you see that little blue?
It is a pretty blue in there.
That little blue inside detail there? It's just a thing. And why not enjoy
and you can see that our colors are blue and white. So, all right. So Monday nights with KW now is originally we started it just as a store.
Yes.
We just advertised our stuff.
Yes.
And it was just to promote our devotionals and the different stuff that we did. And then we added the reaching people that desperate cry.
Yes.
And so we started talking to people who has been through some things in life. We've had some very interesting people
you took
on.
The words out of my mouth. I was thinking earlier about even that week that we had Pastor Leonard Newton talking about his journey through cancer. And how I remember one of the things that he said that stood out to me was that through that experience, and I'm not saying it verbatim, but he was grateful for the experience because it helped him to see things in a more positive light. Something along those lines.
But he said it helped him to be a better husband, a better father, a better pastor. Yeah.
And that was just awesome. What's something that stood out for me for another week that maybe
the thing that has never left me is Alicia. And Alicia's never, I guess because Ari's chronic disease, is Alicia's daughter has I keep saying acne, it's not acne, eczema in her scalp.
It was hyper.
She's really sensitive, and so no product could really wash the baby's hair without causing a flare up of some kind. Yeah. And so her brother, who's a chemist, engineered this product for them, and they marketed Puretopia. As a matter of fact, it's puretopia.com.
Yes.
And you can find some really, really good stuff there. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about our guest tonight.
I am too.
I'm really, really excited. This is your friend. So I'm going to let you do all the introductions.
Well, where can I even start with Tomi? Like, first of all, let me take a little bit of history in there. So this is a phenomenal woman that I literally sat shoulder to shoulder with in our grad school classes doing marriage and family therapy for 2 years. And consistently, so she is indeed, when you talk about a phenomenal woman, she is indeed that. passionate about health, passionate about women's health, and kind of where we're going tonight with her, passionate about early motherhood.
I'm excited about
physical
that.
and mental health
I was
for our
hoping-
new moms.
I was hoping her son would have been able to get on her nerves while she's talking to us. So let's see. But I think they probably successfully got him to bed. But yeah, when we come back, we're gonna bring her out. She's a very, very spiritual person.
Yes.
And I'll tell her one of the things that I'm really grateful to her for. Well, let me say it before. It was Gabby's birthday, and I post. You know how we love to post about our children, and and that lady talked into Gabby's life prophetically.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. So we're really excited to have her.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break and come back. Hey, if you know someone who is pregnant, if you know someone who just got married and we're gonna have a family, if you know someone who's
a new mom,
who's about to give birth, please give them a text, give them a call, tell them to hop on here. And then remember, the way you win is, well, so far the people who have, if you're listening to me right now,
got a comment,
and you comment and we have not read your comment, it's because we can't see it. So it's because you're on one of our shared links, and you don't want to be on the shared link. You either want to be on Kamala's page, my page, KW Ministries, or our YouTube channel. YouTube channel is really, really where we want you. Welcome, Maxine Phillips. She says, good night, Pastor.
All right.
No, I'm not. Oh, no, it's not Maxine Phillips. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
But so who is it? Tell us who it is so that we can say welcome. And this is how you get your name. Oh,
Hey,
guys,
Roosevelt.
Why are you showing up as Maxine Phillips? Wait a minute. Hi, Sir Roosevelt. So this is how you will. Sir Roosevelt was one of our amazing guests.
Yes.
She was one of our amazing
Yes.
guests. She's 150 years old, looking like she's 16.
Oh, really?
I mean, she's 16. She looks like she's 16 years old.
Well, that is true, but she's definitely not 150.
No,
I don't think she would like that too much.
It's from me. She can't do me anything right now. You can't. She can type, but
Oh man.
Oh shoot, she can keep that room. Never mind. She's a 40-year-old looking like 16-year-old. How about that, Sister Roosevelt? All right, we'll be right back.
Hey, Pastor, I finished the book last night. Oh my goodness. Man, I'm going to have my niece read it some more today. But I couldn't put it down. What a powerful read. Your daughter did a phenomenal job in that writing. That was so good. Oh, the story was so, I could put myself in it in so many different ways. And wow, it was well written. I mean, I could not put it down. I was up with that book till midnight last night. I was like, whoa, I'm not putting it down. I was like, I wanted more. And I really love how she incorporates her spiritual life and the choices that she make.
All right. Hey, Tommy.
Hello.
I have been looking forward to it. Excited.
Absolutely. So, gosh, where to even get started? Well, let's do this for our viewers. Let's start off with who is Faith-Tomi Wilson? What do our viewers need to know about you?
Oh man, such a loaded question. So first of all, I just want to thank you both for having me on tonight. I'm actually very excited. You all were talking about some things that are near and dear to my heart, which was journaling and children. And so, and even I remember with Gabby's birthday, I almost teared up when you started talking about it, because I remember in that moment how I felt and what God was telling me concerning her. And so that blessed me. Even hear y'all mention that. I was like, oh man, yes, I remember. And I just love journaling, and maybe I'll talk about that depending on how the conversation goes today. But man, so I am Faith-Tomi Wilson. As Kamala mentioned, I am passionate about all things health and wellness, but especially as it relates to pregnancy and postpartum, and even more especially for my Black mothers worldwide. And so, as Kamala also mentioned, I do have my master's in marriage and family therapy. And by the end of this year, I will be fully licensed in the state of Georgia. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you. And then I'm also working on a certification to specialize in perinatal mental health. So that will be where I'm really focusing my practice, is serving mothers in the pregnancy and postpartum journey, and couples, because a lot of times we focus on the mom, but dad is going through a change as well, and the family is going through a change. So I'm really excited about bringing that to our community. And then I'll also be working on a certification to help my mamas when it comes to their mind and body. So the fitness aspect, because that sometimes is left out, and she can't be whole and well if her mind and body are not connected and sound. And so I'll be doing a little bit of that just to tell you about me professionally. But I am a wife of, it'll be 3 years, December of this year, which is mind-blowing to me. Thank you. It has been a journey, but we thank God. Like, he is definitely faithful when you keep him in it. And so, and then we have a little one, our son, Nehemiah. He just turned 17 months on the 22nd. So I'm amazed just to see how they change and they grow. And Lord willing, we want about 4 more. I love children. So.
Oh, wow. Let's talk about Nehemiah for a second. And where I'd like to start the conversation is today. I saw a post on Facebook. Sister Cheryl Wright in New York posted a meme. I guess I don't know what they call it. I mean, it was a short video of this mother, this new mother. She's getting ready to shower. She has on her towel, and she's brushing her teeth. And she comes out and she checks on the baby to see if the baby's breathing. And she goes back in, and you can see that it's like 2 seconds later, she comes back out and she checks on the baby to see if the baby is breathing. And does that sound familiar at all? Let's talk to us about that.
So the first 3 months, I will not lie, I probably checked on that boy to see if he was breathing 300 times a day. Because when they're smaller, they don't have that, the chest rising as much. And then they don't snore. It's not like, they don't have a lot of things that let you know, like, hey, little person. Are you So I was, especially as a new mother, I was checking to see if my son was breathing a lot. And then I realized that he was okay. And I didn't have to keep checking. But I think that's a real thing. I think that's a very real thing.
Talk to some mothers, and I know Sister Cheryl, and I know Sister Cheryl has a young daughter, but talk to some mothers who will watch this later, just by virtue of the topic, about who's going through just that, who is continuously checking and they're questioning themselves. Am I crazy? Am I gonna lose it? Talk to them for a second.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So to backtrack, right? So we have to look at what pregnancy is. So one of the things that I always tell my mamas is that the moment that you become pregnant or that you decide to become pregnant, you are now an Olympic athlete. So what does that mean? Pregnancy, labor, and birth is literally actually scientifically comparable to the 4-year preparation process of an Olympic athlete, and then that momentous moment of whatever it is. And they're actually saying, experts say that if you look at what a woman's body goes through from the moment of conception all the way to actually giving birth, no matter what type of birth she has, it is very comparable, if not more intense, than that journey of an Olympic athlete. And so pregnancy, labor, birth is a marathon. And why is that important before I even talk to the early mother that is in her new postpartum journey is realizing that you becoming pregnant and going through that whole process, it wasn't just a happenstance type thing. And even if you weren't very active during it, your body went through monumental changes. Your mind went through monumental changes. So once you bring your sweet baby boy or girl earthside, your body is going through this whole place of stability and change, trying to find that equilibrium again, from your hormones to your mental health to your physical body, right? So there are things like postpartum depression and anxiety that are more common, but even postpartum rage, postpartum, even like confusion, like waking up disoriented at times, postpartum psychosis, postpartum just one day you feel really excited and the next day you don't even know how you feel. There are moments where you look at your child and you don't even feel connected to them. There are so many things, and that doesn't even scratch the surface, right? And what I want to tell the mother, the first time mom or the new mom, because for me the difference is a first time mom, you only have one child, but a new mom is every time you have a child. Because every single time you birth a child, you have to become a new person. Your family becomes new. Everything changes, right? So to my first time mamas and my new time mamas, one, you're not crazy. Two, you're not alone and you're not the only one. Because I think there's this narrative that begins to play in our minds, like it's just me, nobody else. And that's because we don't talk about it a lot, especially, I would say, in the Black or even Christian community. How often are we talking about what's really going on during pregnancy, labor, birth, and postpartum? It's just, oh, y'all got married. Oh, y'all had a baby. Congratulations on the baby. Meanwhile, mama's over here like, I'm about to lose my mind. If somebody don't check on me, if somebody don't ask me, and everybody's, how's the baby? How's the baby? How's the baby? And it's like, who asked mom how she's doing? Who check-ins with her to see if she's doing okay? Does she need anything? And so, mama, if you're listening, one, I just want you to know you're not crazy. You're not alone. You're not the only one. And if people aren't checking for you, one, don't negate the fact that you can check on you, right? You can take care of you. Sometimes that looks like just putting on some chapstick, or getting some water or some tea, or going outside and getting some sun, or even vocalizing, hey, I need some support too. Hey, I need some help too. Like, the baby is great, but I'm not so great. And so that would be the first things that I would say, just to encourage a first-time mom or a new mom as you're going through things. And if you're asking yourself, if it's normal, the answer is yes. So let me say that too. If the question comes, is this normal? Yes. Yes, it's normal. You're not the only one. You're not crazy. We are all going through it in different ways, in some way, shape, or form. So yeah. Oh, where'd they go? All right, you all. So while we wait for our hosts to come back, I will just also wanted to add and to share that when it comes down to the early pregnancy, not even pregnancy, but the early motherhood journey, another thing is to know that whether you're a first-time mom and it's your first child, or even if you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to be gentle and gracious to yourself as you're learning how to be a mother to this new child or this new addition with your other children. I think that's something that we don't give ourselves a lot of grace for, or staying in the space of grace was one of the things that I say. Hello, Hilbert Glenn. How are you doing today? Hope that you're having a good evening. And so staying in the space of grace, right? And being gentle and careful and cautious with yourself. The same gentleness and care and caution that you provide for your new little one, you need the same gentleness, the same care, and the same caution. You need that same tenderness, that love, and that care. You need the same patience and even just relaxing. And it's like, you know what? This is a new child. I'm figuring things out. I'm figuring myself out again. I'm figuring out how to make sure that this little one is okay. And so I always say to live in the space of grace, the same grace that you would extend. There they go. There they are. The same grace that you would extend to another mother or another woman if they came to you, extend that to yourself. But they're back, so hey.
And the kid was like, she's doing fine. Y'all hurry up and get back. Let me ask you, how important and we're sorry about the echo. We're trying to get it out, Stacey. How important was it for you to have? You mentioned that we don't, in the Black community, we don't talk. In the Christian community, we don't talk. And Kamal and I have been preaching about mental health, so forth. So how important was it to have other mothers to talk to, and experienced mothers to talk to?
It was crucial. So one of the things that I did for myself, so the moment I found out I was pregnant and accepted the fact that I was pregnant, because that's a story in and of itself, I was like, okay, we're here, we're doing this. And I realized I had all these questions, things that I'd already been researching and I'd already kind of known. But when I was like, okay, we're really here, I was like, wait a minute. And I realized, I said, what support or what things do I have in place to really help me through this journey? And so for myself, and I realized, which is why I do part of what I do, which is advocacy and support, I realized that for a lot of moms, they don't have that village, right? It's often said that it takes a village to raise a child. I say it actually takes a village to thrive at life. Like, we think that you just need the village to raise the child, but who's helping the new parent figure out how to raise the child? Who's helping the new mom when she's resting, and who's cooking? Who's helping with the laundry? Who's helping with all of those things? We've gotten away from that. We were meant to be very communal, very tribal, for another word, people. Like, that is really part of our design, is that interdependence, right? And so for me, I sought out women that had gone before me, right? That had already had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many children. Women that were also on the journey with me. There's something about having a peer, someone that's either like just had a baby or we're pregnant together. That's always awesome, right? Pregnant together. And then for me as well, I made sure that so I didn't go the hospital route. I had my son at a birthing center. So I went the midwife and doula route. So I found a doula, lactation support. I had a pelvic floor therapist. I had a whole team. Like, I wasn't playing any games, because I knew, though, that this journey was not something that I could just do on my own and be holistically well. A lot of women do it and they make it. They're surviving. I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to be able to be in a space where not only I was okay, but okay enough to take care of my son. Because there's so many things that happen, and I've learned so much in the now, really 3 years, but we'll say really intensely 2 years of studying, but also talking with moms, lots of moms. And my heart breaks at the lack of support. So many women go through a lot of things really just because they don't have support. They just don't have the support. And so to directly answer your question, it was vital for me. It was crucial. I knew that I could not be the best mother and even wife, like other roles that we have. I couldn't do it on my own, and I needed that help.
So I've got a question for you. Something that you said a little bit earlier. We may go to a break first before I let you answer, but I want you to think about it. You mentioned that, even prior to having your child, you had to go through this process of accepting.
Yes, I heard that.
This is what is happening. And so when we come back from our break, I want for you to talk about that process of acceptance and and how important that is for new moms, parents going into this, that acceptance piece.
And minister to those new moms like only you can, who are, because I feel like it's so crucial that it would like everything else in life, acceptance. What's going to happen to my life now? I'm excited to hear about that. We'll be right back.
All right.
are back.
Yes.
All right. So the floor is yours. Acceptance.
Okay, so every woman comes into motherhood in different ways. Some of us have been trying for some time. Some of us, you just find out that you're pregnant. Others, it's very intentional. It's like, okay, we're ready for baby number 3 now. And so with that, though, no matter which angle or journey, right, there's still this moment of like, when you take that pregnancy test, it's like, oh, snap. Okay, I'm pregnant. And if you're a mother like me, you probably took maybe 2 to 3, 5 more tests just to
be sure.
just to make sure that one wasn't a fluke. And so I'm actually about to share something with you all. I have not shared this publicly in any space, but I do believe that even if it's just one, there's a woman that needs to hear this. So prior to getting married, I'm a planner. I'm an organizer. I'm one of those people. And I have been telling God, like, Lord, I need like 2 to 3 years with my husband before we have a child. 2 to 3 years. And after that, we can have them all. Boom, 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 boom. And then, yeah, be great. And 3 was really what I desired. Well, 3 months into our marriage, I found out we were pregnant. And I was hit. Most women, or I won't say most, a lot of women are excited. To be very transparent, I was not excited at all. I was like, God, this was not the plan. This was not the plan. We had a conversation. Daddy, you always take care of me. I normally get what I want. What is happening? In certain regards, obviously, right? And I just really had faith that I was going to get my 3 years. So 3 months in exactly, find out that we're pregnant. And I wasn't excited. And I felt some shame or guilt around that emotion, right? Around not being excited that I had the fruit of the womb. Not being excited about this blessing and this gift, right? So there were those emotions. Then there was the emotions of we're not ready. We just got married. We moved into an apartment. Like, we're establishing our new family unit. And I really wanted us to be in another place. I was like, God, we are not ready. We got some things to work out. We got some finances to get in order. Like, what is going on? We are not ready for this child. And then the third thing, in very full transparency, I was just like, can you take them back and send them back in like a couple years? I was so serious too. Like, I was so serious. So those were my initial thoughts. Very open, honest, and transparent with you all. Yeah. And so after going through those thoughts and crying and being in denial and all of those things, I finally sat down, and this was my moment of acceptance, where I was journaling. This is something that I do. And I was writing to the Lord, and I was just like, Daddy, this was not what I desired. But immediately what happened was I thought about all the women that have been trying to conceive for 5, 10, 15, some 20, 25 years. I thought about the fact that it wasn't difficult for us. I thought about the fact that even though it was very inopportune, in my personal opinion, I believe that every child, no matter the circumstances in which they come to the earth, is sent. That's my personal belief. And so I really just sat there and I was like, Lord, why now? I was like, if the 3 years was not what you wanted, I was like, Lord, why now? And what the Lord told me, he said, I sent, and I knew the name of my son back in like 2017, 2015, I think the Lord had told me. Yeah, so the Lord told me, he told me my first child would be a boy. He told me his name, and he actually told me, who he would be in the earth, what his assignment was. So the Lord said, I sent Nehemiah at this time. I know it's not when you wanted, but it was time for him to come. And there were some things about our marriage that Nehemiah was sent for, but also now I recognize it literally was the perfect time. And so for me, my acceptance was accepting the will of God over my own. And my acceptance also was releasing the shame, releasing the guilt, releasing all the kind of the negative feelings that I had, and now embracing this child. And I just began to speak over my womb and to pray, and I repented. I said, Lord, forgive me for all of my thoughts. But the Lord was so kind and gentle. He was just like, I'm not afraid of like it, all the things that you were feeling and all the things, like it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm glad as my daughter that you came to me and that you allowed me to meet you there, because I was there for a little bit. It was maybe some weeks. Like this wasn't no days.
Right.
Say some more about the, because this time can be very frustrating. Say some more about God being okay with you wrestling with it.
Yeah. Yes. Man. So I think that, so one of the first things, it was actually
Stacy says, thank you, Lord, for giving us what we need.
Come on. That's good, right? So it was actually in grad school where I came across this quote. Kamala probably remembers it. That emotions are indicators, not dictators. And it's one of my favorite. And I remember when I learned that in grad school, it was at that same moment that the Lord said to me, he said, I'm not upset about how you feel. Bring me the anger, bring me the frustration, bring it all to me. But understand that even though it's indicating something to you, it doesn't need to dictate your choices. And doesn't need to dictate the direction that you go. But you don't need to suppress it or shut it down in the name of being holy or righteous or whatever. We have different thought processes that we kind of come depending on whether you're in the Christian community or even the Black community, of being that strong woman. We have all these different things, right? Where we try to put on. And God was like, don't put on for me. Like, you don't have to put on. You don't have to save face. You don't have to front. You don't have to come to me put together. Come to me unraveled, and I will put you back together. And so I think that for me in that moment, that quote came to mind. It comes to mind quite often. And I really had to surrender to that, because just because you know truth and you have knowledge, you still have to choose to surrender to it. Because we can have a lot of information up here, right? Yeah. And a lot of understanding, but we still do the opposite. We got all the knowledge doing all the opposite. And so I really had to surrender. And so what that looked like for me was journaling, praying, crying, worshiping, going outside for a walk, yelling, screaming. All the things in full transparency, because also pregnancy brings on a whole host of hormones and emotions that you don't even understand. So I had my regular emotions, then I had my pregnancy hormones. And so, and God was okay with all of that, right? He didn't shine me.
Exercising played a big part for you during that time.
It did.
About some.
Yeah. So I really do believe that movement is a form of therapy. I actually think it's very vital. I think it actually works very well in tandem with talk therapy, with psychotherapy. And I think we all need it in some way, shape, or form. We weren't meant to be sedentary beings. And so the more sedentary your life is at any phase, it actually causes you to have more health challenges or issues, and mental. So for myself, early on in my pregnancy, I also had perinatal depression and anxiety, which later on transitioned into postpartum depression and anxiety. So the number one remedy outside of prayer for me was dancing. It was dancing and going outside. And so a lot of my content, if anyone was following me on social media during my pregnancy, I was probably dancing, walking outside. You saw me moving. I was not a sit still pregnant woman from the beginning to the very end. Even the day that I actually gave birth, I walked 5.5 miles that morning. Was actually how we helped to induce my labor. 5.5 miles, and it wasn't no little cute little walk. Like we were going. And so, but exercise is so important, not only because on a scientific level, there's all different types of chemicals that we need that are released into the body that help. I call them the feel good ones, right? That actually helps, all these endorphins and things that actually help with your mood, but also physically. Remember earlier, mamas, I said that the moment you get pregnant, you now become an Olympic athlete. There is no Olympic athlete on the earth that decides they want to go to the Olympics, and for those 4 years, they're just relaxing, sipping tea. No, what are they doing? They're training. They're preparing their body. And so labor and birth is an intense thing, right? It's very intense. And so the best thing any woman can do, no matter what your physical level is, cleared by your doctor or your midwife, of course, we want that clearance, is to move. You can walk, you can dance, you can stretch, you can hike. I mean, depending on your fitness level, right? What they admonish is that whatever your fitness level was before pregnancy, to maintain that. And if you weren't active at all, to start walking 3 times a week minimum, 30 to 45 minutes. Every mama can do that. And I just believe it's beneficial, not even just for your mood, but it really does change your labor and birth experience. It truly does.
Cheryl Sands says she worked till the day she delivered.
Listen, I believe it.
Also said Gilbert then said it was a good thing what you were doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you've kind of talked us through physical health, mental health, but I don't know that we've gone into everything that you would say to new mothers in this position. What are some other things we haven't talked about just yet that you feel like new moms especially need to know?
Ooh, wow. Okay. How much time do we have? No, just kidding. Man, that is a really excellent question. So being a new mom or
Here is what that I would like for you to look on for a second, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You're married. This child now comes into your life. What's that? Talk about, because that changes the dynamics of your family.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Yeah, that changes the dynamics of your personhood, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this rediscovery of self as a woman. So that directly affects your marriage, right? So your body has changed, your mind has changed, your hormones are still changing. And then now your time is almost completely consumed by taking care of this little one. So if you are a believer or a Christian, now your relationship with God has even changed as well, because it's finding that time for devotion, finding that time to pray. Like you're navigating all of these things, but the marriage, my goodness. So I think if there's nothing else that occurs for a married couple, whether it's your first child or your 8th child, the lines of communication have to stay open. And I would say they almost have to ramp up, because the husband has needs, right? Both persons have needs, but the needs are very different. And if we're not communicating constantly about how those things are changing or needed, frustration, anger, resentment, bitterness, all of those things can take a foothold very quickly in a marriage when a new life comes. And especially because everybody's focused on the baby. Like everybody's focused on the baby, which is not a bad thing. This is a brand new life that doesn't know left from right, front from back, needs all the help and support, but you cannot neglect the maintenance of the marriage. But there needs to be flexibility of what that looks like through each season. So like right now, my son is 17 months. What I need now is very different from what I needed in those first 17 days. And what I needed the first maybe 17 weeks or so, right? And so I think when it comes down to the marriage, there needs to be conversations even before the child gets here, right? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what might change. Let's talk about how we may want to handle that. Do we need some code words? Do we need to have some, these very practical things? And then let's have a realistic conversation. I'm just going to go there for a second about the sex life, because there's this, somehow the medical field has put out this idea that at 6 weeks, everybody should be ready to go.
Yeah.
For most women, this husband, he was ready to go the day the baby got here. That's just how they're wired. And I love it. It's beautiful. And
he's not here to defend himself.
You said what?
He's not here to defend himself.
Oh, but it's okay. I think it's beautiful. I think the differences are great. However, the reality, and Mama, I want you to know, if you're listening, it's okay if at 6 weeks you're not ready. That 6 weeks, I don't even want to get into where that came from. every woman is different. That's what I'll say. I've met mamas, they're ready to go 2 weeks. God bless her. And then there are some mamas that 2 months in, whether it's physically or mentally, because sometimes your body may physically be ready, but mentally and emotionally you're not. And so also cultivating other types of intimacy. Intimacy is not just intercourse, right? I would even beg to say that intercourse in and of itself is not intimacy.
That's right.
That everything before that and around that is what makes intercourse intimate.
Yes.
And so having other things in place, right? Talking about what also communicates that affection and that love and that care, and whatever within your, marriage bed where you all have decided is okay in the Lord, right? How can we explore other things outside of the bed and in the bed so that we're both taken care of? And keep having the conversation, because it's going to change. It's literally going to change. And so those would be just some of the things that I would say when it comes down to the marriage aspect of having a new little one. And I can't wait to see how I navigate this with 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. Because
Yes. What does the new mother need?
one more time.
What does the new mother need?
Who? The song came into my mind, but I'm not gonna sing it. Love and understanding. That's what she needs. But what do I mean? So let's break that down. I think the first thing is to understand that she actually needs to be seen and heard. So I mentioned earlier that everybody is focused on the baby. Even the new mom is focused on the baby. She's actually neglecting herself 9 times out of 10. So things that really blessed me was, hey babe, have you showered? Okay, let me do this. Go take a bath. Go shower. Hey babe, have you, whatever. It's like the littlest of things. Brushing her teeth, showering, the things that, and the things that are basic care really go out the window very quickly. So something as, I remember weeping tears of just gratitude when I was checked in on, and it was like, when was the last time that you bathed? And I was like, I don't know. And it was like, here, bring the baby. And you just go in the bathroom for as long as you need, whatever you need to do. And I remember just standing in the shower and just crying, but it wasn't tears of like pain or anything. I was so grateful that I didn't have to ask.
Yes.
I didn't have to advocate for myself, but that I was seen enough to be like, hey, go do this. Go outside, go whatever it is. And so I think really being seen, being paid attention to, and just kind of discerning, do you want some tea? Have you eaten? When was the last time that you ate? Let me go make you something to eat. Or you know what? You wore that yesterday. You want to wear something new? Let's get you something bright. Like there's just it really is the little things for a mother, a new mother or a first time mom in those early stages, that it just changes everything. It just really changes everything. So yeah.
A lot of what I've heard, you've got a comment.
Cheryl Sands, I think when you were talking earlier about communication as to how needs are met, Cheryl Sands said something so profound, if I'm understanding what she means. She said outer course.
Yes.
Do you think, can you say a little bit about that? I know we're not in her mind, or Cheryl, you can feel free to, say some more about that. But I really like that concept.
Yeah. So outer course, that looks like quality time. So outside of just all the things of taking care of the baby, what do you actually enjoy doing together as a couple? Yes, now we may have a little one there with us, but let's not forsake that. Outer course also could look like maybe just holding hands, right? Moments a lot, because a lot of times it's just amazing the things that just get lost once a baby comes. And so just going and grabbing our hand, or even, a forehead kiss. I'm a fan of those. So, the forehead kiss, or even conversation that's not centered around the baby, right? Dialogue, or maybe let's have a in-house movie night. Let's have a game night. Let's, it depends on the mama, but what does her personhood enjoy doing? And how can we do that together? Right. And even for the father, like, I don't want to leave out, because it's so easy when you talk about this, especially because we're the ones who carry, to forget about the father. So I just want to be very clear. I love my men. I really do. I'm very big on advocating, just for really honoring, respecting, loving, supporting, and you all being seen as well. And so I think also it's very important to recognize that dad, even though he did not birth a baby, he just had a baby too.
That's right.
He just had a baby too. And so how is he doing? Let's mentally check in with him, right? Because there could be some worries. Financial worries may come up. How am I going to be able to be a father to this new, let's say they've only had boys, now I got a girl, or they've only had girls, now I got a boy, or maybe they have a mix, but it's like, it's another one. Like, there's just so many things that can come up for a man in becoming a new father or a first-time father, right? And so I think, too, let's not forget about our dads, right, in this journey. Let's not forget about them. So that's where, again, that outer course that I think she was talking about is that communication. So let's talk. Let's have a check-in. And something that I really like is sometimes if dialogue, maybe we're just not in a space of where we want to have a lot of conversation, we can write.
Yeah.
We can write. And that could even be a fun little game to do with one another. And so, yeah. So those are some things that I would definitely say.
I have heard a lot in what you've said that sounds like validation of self, validation from others.
Yes.
And the way I want to frame that is validating communication. If you want to coin a term.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm hearing first and foremost out of everything that you've said. And I think that it's so, the way that you've gone about this is so authentic. And I think you've really spoken to a lot of moms in our discourse tonight. Something in particular struck me, and this was way at the beginning. This was when you said that kind of working through that acceptance of I didn't feel like I was ready, or this wasn't the right time for it, and the guilt that moms feel. And that's the stuff that people don't talk about, because we have this narrative around what parenthood is supposed to be like, how I'm supposed to feel, what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's so wonderful that you've been able to capture those things and make it okay that we get to have those emotional experiences.
Using the word acceptance.
Yes.
There's a question here from a very wise person. Pastor Ben Jones wants to know, how does a woman take care of herself and not feel guilty?
So that's a great question.
I think so, yes.
So to tie those two together, one, to respond to what you said, Kamala, the work that I'm doing is making it okay because it has to be okay. That silence and that internalizing and that just putting on that, I'm all well, but everything else is going on, is why women have moments of these emotional outbursts or breakdowns, or disconnect from your husband, or even from your child, or just so many things can come from that. And we have to have a voice to be able to express the totality of our experience. We think as women and as people that it has to be an either or, but why not both and? Why can't you be in this great space, but also not be so excited about it? Why can't you have joy, but also be uncertain or be upset about it, right? And so I think when we embrace the duality of our existence, and that most of the times it's a both and, it's not an either or, it frees us up. There's this freedom that comes with that, because it's like, I don't have to be a particular way. I can just be. And I can embrace and I can accept all that I am. And as I process and work through that, a part of me may be more this way or maybe more that way. And that is okay. And so I think that to respond to what Pastor Ben said is, how does a woman take care of herself and not feel guilty? I think to understand that taking care of oneself is not a it's not a selfish act, right? And I think there's this idea that I'm being selfish. But the truth of the matter is that she cannot be a good mother, a good wife, a good woman, a good person, teacher, educator, whatever hats, without first taking care of herself, without first being good to herself. Because it's out of the overflow of who she is that it goes into everything else. So if she is not taking care of herself, eventually that lack of care will actually bleed into other areas, right? And it'll look different, but it'll all connect back to, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Like what's going on with you, right? And so I think just that freedom of knowing that taking care of yourself, mama, is not selfish, but it's actually very selfless, because it actually positions you to better be all the things that God has called you to be. And so
We have another question before 10 o'clock.
I know.
And just so you know, this conversation has been so good. We haven't sold any books. We haven't had any. So, but we have one more question. Pastor Brown again says, and this is good. This is a really good question. If a mother did not have a good communication, with her spouse before the child, where does a woman begin? Who does she talk to? So there was no communication there with the spouse. Once a child comes, because the communication doesn't just appear, what happens? Who does she relate to now?
So that's a good question. So I think that if we look at it just as the woman not having good communication, it puts all the responsibility on her to kind of figure this. So first of all, I would say, how can we, right? How can the couple unit better their communication? Because if she's not having good communication with him, he's not having good communication with her either. And if it was that way before the child, definitely a child is actually going to put some extra challenges on that communication. So biased as I am, therapy would probably be a very good fit for this couple. And I know that in our Christian and Black community, that mental health and going to see a therapist, people are like, I'm not crazy. And I tell people all the time, if you were born of a woman, you probably have a little bit of crazy in you. So the idea that you were born of a woman, I'm sorry.
I knew this was going to be good.
We just go check that off. So, but all jokes aside, seeing a therapist doesn't mean that you're crazy.
Yes.
In fact, making the decision to see a therapist actually shows that you have some self-awareness, that you actually have some awareness of yourself. Like, okay, I need some support. Like, we cannot do this on our own, and we need an objective third party to help facilitate conversation. I think there needs to be a better understanding even of what therapy is. You're not going to somebody to fix you all. Y'all aren't broken per se. You're not, there's just all these ideas. And this is what I'd say is, one, highly consider therapy. Highly consider it. It is an invaluable tool that every marriage, I don't care if you all are on cloud 10 and doing the best of the best, or we are in the abyss of the low and we need to be pulled all the way out of that. Therapy does something to communication and true intimacy, because as we said, that's not just that intercourse and that sex. That true intimacy, which I love to say, into me you see, right, is intimacy. So it now, there's just something. Y'all are cracking me up.
That's good right there. Hashtag.
I can preach that.
Listen, you really can. You can have it. Listen, I heard it when I was like 19 years old, and I never forget it. I can't even remember where, but I was 19. I remember that. And I was like, ooh, I'm taking that for life. But yes, I would say therapy. And then on a more personal level, journaling. So this is why I'm an advocate for journaling. If we're having a challenge communicating our thoughts verbally, writing it out can actually help you to better express whatever it is that you're trying to say. So if I find that a couple is having a hard time, every time they talk, it's volatile. Every time we talk, we're misunderstanding. You know what? Let's pause. Let's pause on the communication verbally with one another, and let's just start to write out our thoughts and our feelings. Let's just begin to Kamala said earlier, the what did you say? Free flow of thought? Was it free flow or
Thought streaming?
thought streaming? Thank you. Yes, thought. I heard flow. Like I was like the stream flows, right? You just let it flow. Don't censor. Don't try to make it sound pretty. Whatever it is, let it out. Now your journal becomes your filter. So now you can look at what you wrote, you can process it, and now you can communicate better, or you have the ability and opportunity to better communicate with your spouse. Like, you know what? I was thinking about this. I wrote about it. I prayed about it. And this is what I want to share with you, right? And so journaling is one tool that can really help with that. So therapy, journaling, and I think he had a third part to his question, but I can't remember it. But those would be the two things that I would share.
All right, it's 10 o'clock. And we have to go. So we want to say thanks so very much. But let's have this conversation again because, number one, there's so much more to you than being a new mother.
Yes.
So we will sit down here again. That's for sure. And then number two, this was just so much fun. Would you please take a second to just share with those of us who are watching or those who will watch later how to follow you? Because you have some really good
Just content
sources. Because one of the things we didn't talk about, and we're Seventh-day Adventists, and so theologically we might differ on things, but you are such a godly woman.
Yes.
You are such a spiritual person that I believe anyone that follows your content would be blessed. So just share with us real quickly how we can follow you, and then let's plan to do this again. Stacy says,
thank you, Faith, for reminding us that it's okay to not be okay, and that every pregnancy is different. Desiree Glenn, I'm so enjoying this conversation. Journaling is so fun. I still do. A little bit earlier, Hilbert Glenn had also said, that kind of interaction. He was talking through how you were discussing how couples should be talking about things, should be there at the start of pregnancy and kind of all the way through, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
and I think embedded in Pastor Jones's point earlier is that couples have to, you can't wait till the birth to communicate, but you have to develop communication before. So thanks everyone who hung out with us. Please, Faith, tell us how we can follow you real quick. Annika, tell us who the winners are right after she's finished, and we'll say how they can get it.
Absolutely. So on Facebook, it is literally my name. So it's just Faith-Tomi Wilson. So find me there, follow me there. And then on Instagram, it's my name without the hyphen. So it's just Faith-Tomi Wilson, but there's no hyphen in that. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of direct you all, Facebook is much more kingdom and ministry oriented. So if you want more of the content that's really about like the kingdom of God, that's more so where I focus on Facebook. And then my Instagram is kingdom, but it's very focused on motherhood, pregnancy, postpartum, all of those things. So just to kind of let you all know where to go. So yeah, but thank you.
No, thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you so much. And let me tell you, Faith, I knew you before I ever met you. Kamala was always talking about you. Always.
Shoulder buddy right there.
Always talking about you. All right. Annika, tell us who the winner is tonight, and we'll tell you how to get your gift.
Drum roll, please.
Winner, Cheryl Satter. Oh, did Cheryl win last week? She sure did. Did she win last week? And she came again? Okay, all right, okay. They're determined, Sister Sands, that you're going to be the winner. We're going to send you the journey to healing, reaching people with a desperate cry, 8 coping skills to heal. I think you will really, really enjoy this, Cheryl. And for the program that you're doing, actually, this is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
For the program that you're doing at the home with those individuals. And then I'm just so excited that Pastor Ben Jones hung out with us. And so I would like to take privilege to send him one of these also. To get your gift, simply go to kwministries.net. There it is. Claim your prize. And then your code is, okay. Annika already has a code. I was going to say into me, you see, but Annika already has a code. So mom, okay? So please, www.kwministries, claim your prize, and where it says comments, just put mom, put your information, and we will send this to you. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on. Faith, we love you. Thank you.
Love you all. Thank you so much. This was a joy, and I look forward to the next one.
Oh, we're doing it
Absolutely.
again.
We are.
See you next week, everybody. 9 o'clock, Monday night.